Welcome to this exciting new venture. I'm Dani.
And I'm Soph.
And we've been friends for 16 years. We are so proud of the connection we have and the stories we can share along the way. Now, with a mutual obsession with the moon, the stars, soul, and all things in between, we want to invite you into our story. This is Shouty Mums and Spirituality.
Dani, we made it. First episode.
This was hilarious. The fact that it took us about an hour and a half to even get to this point is just evidence of how we roll. Raw, messy, and hilarious.
Literally, we were just recording the intro and I had to cover Dani's face with the ChatGTP window.
GTP. She's doing it already, guys. The bloopers from this podcast are going to be hilarious. Anyway, we had to cover each other's faces because we were hysterical. We thought we're not even going to be able to record an intro, let alone a whole pod episode. So let's just see how this goes. But yeah, first ever one, isn't it?
Yeah, first one. So many tech difficulties to get here, but we did it.
We did it. I just had to ask Soph if we were in the middle of a Mercury retrograde because the system that we're using wasn't working, then the other one wasn't, and then none of the mics were working. We're about an hour and a half behind. Oh, we've shown up. We've persevered. And I think that is testament to our story. And kind of, in a way, it's very apt because it goes to show that when you have got the soul-bound friendship like we have, you can navigate the dramas and the stress and those really annoying moments that come along just to throw you off track. And, you just do it anyway. You just push through, you have a laugh, you grab a coffee and you record anyway.
Well, no, I just think talking about our friendship, I think first ep, we've got to share the friendship story, haven't we?
Ooh, and it's such a cute story. So let's think how it started for me anyway, 16 years ago, which sounds like a really long time ago. I moved to Southampton. I'm originally from Oxford. I moved to Southampton to go to uni. And do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. And of course, we talk about divine timing and divine intervention all the time. But I studied fashion at college and I could either go to London College of Fashion or Southampton. Now, if you've ever studied fashion, you will know the London College of Fashion is the top dog, right? Everyone wants to go there. But me being my usual rebellious self, I don't want to go where everyone goes. I don't want to go where people expect you to go. So for some rogue reason, although now I'll say it's probably to meet Soph, I decided to go to a very random seaside town I'd never been to before. And I moved to Southampton for 3 years. But I guess the part of the story that I find really crazy is when I was 16, I got my first job in retail and it was for Debenhams, but I fell in love with the concession of warehouse. And ever since I was 16, I told everybody who would listen, I want to work for warehouse when I grow up. I want to work for warehouse head office. So, of course, I stayed working for warehouse during my time at uni when I lived in Southampton. And Soph was my deputy manager.
Supervisor, but thank you.
Oh, supervisor, which made you a bit more like down in the trenches, because I guess management, of course, there's a certain level of professionalism, but you were just one of the team, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's what obviously allowed us to have that friendship where we could go out and stuff, because obviously we didn't have such a big gap.
Yeah.
And I think, so obviously you used to work part-time and you would come in and do like the evening shifts where we would close the store together and do the Saturdays
But we had so much fun.
Yeah, we loved the same music, didn't we? So we used to always like go on nights out, and it was really great.
Because we would have been 20 and 21 at the time, right?
Yeah.
I started uni when I was 20. So
I would have been 19.
Yeah. How crazy to think that we kind of spent our early 20s together, just going out, dating, navigating our love lives and loving Nicki Minaj and Kevin Little and spending our weeknights. Obviously, I was at uni, so I had every excuse. You, on the other hand, you were just in full-on employment adult life, but yet we went out all the time and we just had a great time.
Yeah, it's go out on a Saturday night and then have to be in the store to open it on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like a lifetime ago. Now that obviously we're mums and we have businesses and, we're doing life the adult way, it seems like a lifetime ago, but we always speak about how we're definitely going to get together and just put the music on and just dance around the kitchen, dance with the kids. Because, there's something really special about just letting it go and just dancing.
And something really special about dancing to the songs that you used to dance to, but with your kids.
I know, it's the nostalgia. Honestly, old school garage and funky house, that was our stuff, wasn't it?
It was,
that particular album was also our,
the Pink Friday album, yeah.
I'll always use one of her songs when I'm posted about you on socials, but yeah.
And we were so close to each other as well, didn't we? Like we could literally walk to each other's. You obviously living with your uni friends. I was living with a friend, and before we go out, we would go around each other's houses, and yeah, drink as much as we possibly could before we could go out.
Yeah, 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 and then navigate the hangovers in retail. I'm pretty sure so many people can relate to that time of life as well, when you're just young and free and you just wanna go out and party and enjoy yourself, and of course you've got a part-time job, you wanna pay for this lifestyle, and I reckon everyone out there will say, "God, I remember the times I'd show up at my retail shift, hanging out my arse and making it through just because of who you work with and who your team was," and I
Oh
guess
yeah,
we
definitely.
had an obvious soul connection as soon as we met. Like, we were literally inseparable. And I think to have met somebody that wasn't part of my uni story, but be part of that chapter of my life was amazing. Because, of course, after I moved back home after uni, I came back to visit you in Southampton. I remember coming to your new house. And then I guess we tried to stay in touch. We met up in London another time when you were living there. And then obviously lives, right? We found our men.
Tell a story about that time when I came to you in London. Remember I can't remember why I was there. I think I had an interview actually for a job, and then Dani was at work, and I came to meet her at warehouse head office. She
It's
got the
like, made
job.
it, guys. I've been
Um,
manifesting from days.
back then,
Right?
literally. And then I came to meet her, and I think we went out for dinner, and then I came for a sleepover at her house. But she was telling me about this guy that she had been talking to.
How
And
funny.
you weren't sure, you were like chatting to him, you hadn't been on a date or anything, and it was
Oh my God, this is so
Leo.
cute because I don't remember this. I do not
Yeah,
remember this because
I
I
was
met Leo at a time when I'd given up on men. I legit had given up on romance and men, and I'd obviously just gone for the wrong kind. And I was a hopeless romantic. I've always been obsessed with
you
love.
have.
And I just wanted to find a man and get married and have babies, like I always just did. And I just gave up. So I was in a real fuming, fuck all men stage. And then obviously I was on Tinder, and yeah, I met this guy called Leo, and he really wanted to meet up with me. Obviously, he'll tell a funny story now that, he gave up too, but whatever. One random Sunday, he asked me to go out to the cinema. And yeah, like I remember being at my sister and my brother in law's house in Oxford, and he messaged me saying, "What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing anything. Why can't I think of what I'm doing?" And I drove back to Archway. I got ready. I remember having a brie and grape sandwich. Weird. It was
Oh,
October. I know, right? Weird. But I remember it so well that I was chopping up brie cheese and chopping up grapes, and I made this sandwich. And then he picked me up, and he lived in Essex. So for him to drive over an hour to North London to pick me up,
yeah.
and I'll never forget the fact he got out of the car and opened the door for me to get in. Like, these are the things that back, 16 years ago or whenever hold on, when would it have been? We've been together 10 years. So yeah, like 10 years ago, that kind of chivalry and that kind of romance just was not the norm. And even now, I don't know if it's still the norm. Hopefully men know how to behave now on first dates. But I just
Oh,
remember
no.
thinking, this is a different caliber of men that I have ever dated. And
Yeah.
he drove us to the O2 and we went for dinner and cinema, and then he drove me back. And yeah, it was one of those first dates where everything just kind of falls into place. And
The rest is
obviously
history.
the rest is history. We got married and had babies. And then I did that whole, move back home, and then, well, not move back home. We moved in together after 6 months. And then, yeah, we got engaged on our 1 year anniversary. And
In a castle, by the way, just
oh my God, I know. So he took me to this beautiful castle in Cornwall or Devon, Bovey Castle. I think it's in Devon actually, for our 1 year anniversary. And he proposed. And I remember that he now still to this day is annoyed at me for wanting to call everyone and tell everyone that night. I've always been obsessed with, just people and my circle, and I just wanted to tell my friends and family, and it was
yeah.
exciting. I think I was in shock as well. I thought at the time, you always imagine these moments, and when they actually happen, yeah, part of me I guess was scared that it was only our 1 year anniversary. What's everyone going to think? We've got engaged after 1 year, like what a psycho. But obviously it played out, it worked out, and
Yeah.
2 years later, two
Well, I
years
mean,
3 houses.
Dani, I was pregnant after like 6 months, so
Oh my God, true. So of course you fell pregnant after 6 months. I moved in with him after 6 months, got married after 2 years. We kind of navigated this different stage quite parallel, didn't we? So we
yeah.
hadn't met up, but we stayed in contact. We tried to meet up, and I'll never forget the time it was my engagement party, and you couldn't come because I think that was when you found out you were pregnant.
Yeah, I think so, and I wasn't re yeah, I think I was really sick, wasn't I? So, yeah,
Yes. I think you literally just found out, like, that day or the day
yeah,
before. It was
shock.
yeah, because you were due to come and everything, and then I remember when it was my wedding that you were again due to come, your daughter had her first, seizure. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, she used to have these, like, absent seizures where she wouldn't, like, move or anything. It would just be she would completely glaze over and just be gone for a bit. She grew out of them,
Yeah.
which we were told she would, but, and it's, so your oldest and
Right out
my youngest are
there.
what, 10 days apart?
Yeah.
So we were in the same due date group on, you know, those due date groups on
Yeah.
Facebook, and there's so many things that we were doing, you know, at the same time and just cheering on each other on from a distance.
And knowing that distance does not affect friendship and time
No.
affect friendship. And those soul-bound friendships, when you know you haven't seen each other in the flesh for years, but nothing's changed, just always felt so special. We navigated quite tough things, and obviously we hadn't seen each other
Yeah.
in, like, I guess 5 years. I was on baby number 1, you were on baby number 2. I lost my brother-in-law to suicide, then obviously, you know, your daughter got diagnosed with cancer, and we were both going through these emotional times, and then it was lockdown, it was COVID, so the whole
Yeah.
world was going through emotional times. Um, and I guess our story is one of real divine timing. Like, we had to navigate our things somewhat separately. Like, we still knew we had this bond and this friendship, but we probably didn't speak for a while, right? Like, it was only through socials.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, you know, drop a message or a comment or a reply. And I think, like you said, we were both going through something really life changing at a very similar time, as well as trying to bring up young kids, you know, hold our relationships down. And then obviously you had your little stories business, so you were trying to, you know, do that as well. I was didn't
In
know what I wanted to do with my career. And, you know, after Callie was diagnosed with cancer, that's when I retrained as a therapist. And then when I qualified in January, I was like, Dani, you need to help me with the socials. And she was like, well, I've just launched this membership. It sounds perfect. So I joined, and then it was like, we never lost the love, but like we, you know, like we was like,
rekindle. It was an official
yeah,
rekindle. And obviously
yeah,
we met on Zoom in January, and obviously it was supposed to be business, but we were just giddy. It's like, "Oh my God, I've got you back." And it just felt
yeah.
so fucking cute, to be honest. It was, wasn't it? And then I guess within a couple of months, there was a local networking event near you, and I was like, "Oh my God, we have to go." And to think that that was the first time we'd seen each other in like 10 years
It
is
didn't feel like it though, did
no, it
it? It
doesn't
felt
feel
like
like
it had
it.
literally been like last week, or we had just done a shift together, like
Yeah.
the night before or something. It was so natural.
Yeah.
And I think neither of us, when we didn't have those times and weren't talking, neither of us ever had any, like, you know, resentment towards the other. We really had this understanding that we were both going through a lot. And I think that's really special.
I think is a real testament to those genuine soul-bound friendships, because we all have nostalgic friendships that we've had from school, right? Or the really long-term ones. But the ones where you don't need to explain yourself, the ones that just get you for just getting
Yeah,
you, and you don't need to say, "I'm so sorry I didn't reply." Like, it just doesn't matter. Those things don't matter because we're all navigating our own personal lives, right? And
yeah,
I've got friends now, and we won't see each other for months, and then we'll go for dinner, and it's as if not even a day's passed. Of course, that's what me and you have. And it is so special, and it's so rare, and it's so, like, amazing for us as adults to be able to talk about that, because it does still exist. And obviously, life and the world, and especially navigating being women in business now in the online space, it can feel very bitchy and very noisy and aggressive, and we have to navigate acquaintances. But to be able to stand here and come together and say that soul-bound friendships is a thing. You can be best friends with your clients. You can make your friends your clients, and vice versa. Vice versa. You can collaborate. You can do things like this together. And I think for us, it's lucky that we've got such a longevity of trust and loyalty behind us that it's given us that cushioning, because of course we've both navigated different friendships that have come and gone. And I guess it's just a testament to that saying that some people come for an age or a story, a chapter, or whatever that saying is. But the ones that last are the ones that truly matter. And for us, we've got that safety net that each other have stayed consistent, right? So we can show each other that the loyalty is there without having to say anything. It's just a real support.
and I think like what you said the other day, because I was like, oh, I think I said to you, God, actually annoyed that we missed out on all those years of having this close relationship. And you said to me, like, you know, being the how much trust that you have in the universe and everything happened for a reason. You said to me that it had to happen that way. You know,
100%.
we were different people, although we were the versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Thunder here now. I love thunder. Yeah, so yeah, you were saying that it kind of had to happen
Yeah.
that way, and I was
100%.
like, and you always give me those, like, Dani has this way of just doing these really profound little mic drop moments that just make you sit and rethink how you've ever viewed everything. in your life. And they're like, you sit there and you just want to go, oh my God, yeah, I've never thought about it that way.
I just really trust divine timing. I always have done. I've always believed in the saying. And of course, it's not always been easy to believe in it, but everything happens for a reason. It's literally how I've lived my life. And I remember even from being at school, and obviously I've always had this rebellious nature. So if we had an exam coming up and obviously everyone's anxious and everyone's revising, I'd be like, whatever happens, happens. Like, I either know the knowledge or I don't know the knowledge. Me like scanning a workbook minutes before the exam is pointless. Whatever's going to happen is what's supposed to happen. So I've always had that inner knowing and that trust in timing, and you are exactly where you need to be. And I guess, yeah, when you mentioned that the other day, like you're gutted you missed out on years, and I missed the birth of your children, and likewise, and you weren't at my wedding. But there is not a single part of me that doubts the reason for that. And I know it's because we had to navigate life separately. Like we had to go and find ourselves individually. So we knew that neither of us has affected or impacted or influenced either of us. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
otherwise, because sometimes you can merge into your friend or you think something because your friend thinks it. But actually, we've come on a really organic journey separately, but we've come to the same point. And I just think it's absolutely insane that we have both found ourselves in this spiritual awakening curiosity. And I guess I was only a few months ahead of you, because in January, you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I finally found friends to talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because you'd always been into it, but none of your friends had. And I remember when I lived
Yeah.
in Southampton, and I was getting over my uni boyfriend, I went to see a psychic. And I'm pretty sure you probably recommended her to me. So we'd always had that interest, right? We always had that interest in psychics and clairvoyance. But back then, it's not what it is now. Like
No.
10, 15 years ago, it was like a bit seedy and a bit back of the shop, like a 20 quid tarot reading. And it just wasn't what it is now. It's very taboo. So we always had that mutual interest. But of course, this year, because you joined at a time when I was already hosting vision board workshops and I was already talking about law of attraction and manifesting, and I had a lot of energetic spiritual friends that did women's circles, and we talked about crystals. And obviously you were then showing me your workspace and your love of crystals and your obsession with astrology and horoscopes and all those things. And then I guess very organically, you just started learning stuff. And then all of a sudden you've retrained as an astrologer. It just blows.
But I think that is the importance of who you surround yourself with. A true friend that can give you the confidence to explore your deep beliefs on life. That's a pretty big deal, to be able to have a space where you can do that. And I think where I saw you doing it, and I was like, oh, I can do this as well. I can talk about my views and what I believe, and what you were saying earlier about everything happens for a reason. I mean, I would have never have said that 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
But by doing this work and you cheering me on along the way, I've completely changed my opinion, and I completely agree with that now. And I guess that is just the importance of having those friends, that we don't always have to agree or believe in the same thing, but just give you the space to have
Explore,
those views.
to explore it as well. And I think
Yeah,
you've got
definitely.
that conditional love and trust for somebody, you don't need to force them or convince them to believe in what you believe in. It's just about holding space. And of course, your situation was very, very delicate. And I knew I was probably really irritating to you at the start of the year when we were having, like, because obviously we'd meet on Zoom with my whole membership, right, with all the members, and we'd be there to talk about Instagram. But of course, all of my spaces start talking about spirituality, energy, and we would just have these conversations. They would just flow. So of course, it was find your Insta joy, but it was about the joy. It was about the connection and the
Yeah.
spirituality side, really. But I remember cringing at myself, like, fucking hell, she must think I'm a right dick. Because obviously we were talking about everything happens for a reason. And I knew at that point you were still very much in that angry phase of why the hell did this happen to me and my daughter? Rightly so. And I didn't have the answers. And I would find myself like stopping myself, like, have a bit of compassion. She's still in this, space with it. And then why don't you tell the story then? Because I guess very soon, and it's not like we had a conversation where you were like, I believe it too now. Like, it happened
Yeah.
organically.
I don't know. So I literally remember that Zoom call when someone said, like, everything happens for a reason. And I actually said, well, what could the possible reason be for a 2-year-old to get cancer? And I remember I was so angry, and
Yeah.
actually, like, it'd been 18 months since she'd finished treatment, nearly 4 years since she was diagnosed. It had been a long time, but the anger was still raw. And I don't even really know how it was just a few conversations that obviously we had, and listening to how you talk, and um having a conversation with someone who told me the story about my soul stepping forward in God's boardroom and taking the assignment to be Callie's mum, and different conversations that I had with people, and then just having that time to sit with it, looking at my birth chart and seeing, that it was meant to happen that way. I'm a nurturer, I'm a mum, I've got a lot going on in all my family houses and stuff. So seeing like it was meant to happen that way. And I think the main part for me was understanding that, or having this belief that in another place, Callie and I made this agreement to walk this path together. That brought me so much comfort,
Yeah.
that we said, yeah, we're going to do this together, me and you. And it changed everything. I don't have any anger. I still don't think it was fair,
Yeah.
but I don't have that rage. I have just acceptance. And whether it's true or not, we always say this, don't we? Just having that belief is just giving me that little bit of hope and comfort, and it's changed everything.
It's
But
honestly
I
so
wouldn't have been able to do that if
true.
I didn't feel comfortable, if you didn't give me the space and listen to me, and because I wouldn't didn't have anyone else to talk about it. And if I start talking to my partner about Callie and I as little balls of light, or however you like to imagine souls, that's how I imagine them.
Yeah.
Said, "Shall we do this?" Yeah, go on then.
How beautiful is that though? Like, yeah. And likewise, but this is the thing, isn't it? And I always find comfort in if any belief, and that's literally anything from fairies to Santa, whatever it is, if a belief brings somebody comfort, joy, peace, that's
Absolutely.
amazing. Like, what a beautiful gift to be able to have the power of imagination, right? Because that's all it is. We are creators. We're here just creating a concept in our mind. It's a theory, right? We're not here to say what's right and wrong, what's true or false, because nobody actually knows what happens when we pass or what happened before we were born. But if you've got a theory or an idea that makes sense within you and it makes you feel calm and at peace, then I think that's bloody beautiful. And obviously, the way we have both accepted our human design, our birth chart, our soul gifts, because obviously we've done similar readings and we've gone on this similar awakening together, which is, of course, why we've now come together in business, because it just made fucking sense. But because we learned all these things, all made sense that had to happen. And like you say, it's in this
Yeah.
house and that house. And of course, I can't remember any of these things that you tell me. They make sense. But it's true that, well, I don't want to say it's true, but our belief system is we are all souls on one of our life human experiences, right? On one of our experiences. And we all chose this life. We all chose who to come down to, who to be, who our parents were. So we were all souls up there. And like you said, and when you told that story the other day, obviously we all got really emotional and cried. And it was like really intense, but amazing. And you said they had this file and they said, right, this little girl's going to get cancer at 2. Who wants it? And everyone was like, absolutely not, no
No,
way. And you was like, I'll
fuck
do it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, fuck that, exactly. But that's the thing, isn't it? In life, and this is why I massively believe in personal perception. In every single situation, there is always two sides of a conversation, and it all comes down to personal perception, right? So in everything that goes right or wrong in life, we chose that path to learn a lesson or to have a ripple effect of what comes out from it. So for you, you had to go through something so traumatic and heartbreaking and scary, but it completely shaped the life that you live now and the bond
Yeah.
that you have with your daughter, and obviously whatever amazing being that she is going to grow up to be because of that. And that's what's exciting, isn't it? To think,
What's exciting.
yeah, because you
I
would
wonder.
never have looked into therapy. You would never have retrained.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'd always had the interest, but I didn't, originally it was to help families with
That's
children
it.
with cancer, but I'm too emotional for that. But the bit that I find exciting is I've worked out what my lesson is from that. But what was Callie's?
Oh
Is that going to be that she's going to become a doctor and she's going to help
my God, it
kids
just gave me
with
goosebumps.
treatment? Or is she going to, come up with a cure for cancer or better treatment for cancer? I really am intrigued to what she is going to take from this. Time will tell. But
Time.
she's so even I can see the lessons already. She's so compassionate. She's very patient with like children, other children who are poorly and stuff. She doesn't judge anyone if they, kids have got no hair and those kind of things. So I can already see those small lessons, the results from it now. But yeah,
It is incredible that a lot of people in life, when they go through something so heartbreaking and scary and horrible and tough, right? When you go through a really tough patch, it either makes you or breaks you, right? And I think for anybody, especially obviously we talk a lot about heart-led, right? So we attract heart-led people, heart-led businesses, and we just want to help people. And I think if you've gone through something so painful, you know how it feels and you know what
Yeah.
you needed. And for you then to be like, right, I'm going to learn how to hold space for people in a way that I needed. I want to learn how to support somebody go through their past stories or their trauma or their, experiences to move through this. So I guess because you went through your own personal recovery, let's call it, like obviously your battles with stuff and you needed that support, and then you became that beacon of hope for others. And of course the fact that you've gone on to actually host a podcast for those grieving parents to talk about this, like honestly I'm so proud of you, like that is massive.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, when I retrained, though, those were the conversations that I wanted to be having. But with the podcast, I still get to have those conversations. It doesn't matter if I cry, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because I'm not. There's nothing. It we're just two parents having a chat. All I'm doing is logging in and uploading it on Spotify. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean? I
not
don't
all
need
you're
to have.
doing, you are doing a hell of a lot
Well,
more than that.
well, yeah,
Like
but
how
I don't. You know what I mean? When I don't need to really be the professional
yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
situation. It doesn't matter if we cry, laugh,
Right, yeah, of
and I cry nearly every single time.
course. But you cry for everything anyway.
But well, I do cry everything. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't cried yet today. So, but
Oh.
yeah, no, it's like you said, it doesn't matter what you believe. It's just having that, it just giving you that little bit of hope. It just does make so. I think hope is the most important thing to
Yeah.
have, because without hope, I've had times when I haven't had hope before, and that's when things start going really bad.
Right, when you start going into that pit of despair and worry, I guess I'm really lucky that now in hindsight, I just know it's part of me. But I guess I've always had this inner knowing. And I don't know what that inner knowing is, but I've always had something in me that was calm. And I remember through lockdown, like, for everyone, we all went through something as a collective that was massive. It affected the entire planet. But for so many people, it triggered anxieties, insecurities. They were panicking. So many people then had, health anxiety. Some people get worried that they're gonna get sick, so much stuff came out of that, and I remember, and I know it might sound really heartless because of course I have got compassion, but luckily for me, nobody that close to me was affected, but I remember having this sense of, "Oh my God, this is amazing. We have been given the gift of time." Like, I have been given my husband who worked in retail then, who worked weekends. We had a one-year-old, we got him home, we were playing together, we were going for walks, going to the park, we had each other, we sold our house, bought a house, renovated our house in lockdown. For me, it was amazing, and of course, just before lockdown happened, we lost my brother-in-law to suicide, so our family were given the gift of time to be together, to actually grieve, because I don't know how we would have got through that had we not had to pause life. Because essentially that's what happened, right? Lockdown happened and all the shops shut because I was working in retail then. I worked in Bicester Village part-time, but I also was running a business. And obviously all my family were working. So had lockdown not happened, we would have all been trying to continue doing life and grieving something so sudden. And obviously having nieces and a baby at home and all these little people, we were able to have that time to be as a family. And of course we had the bubble. We probably broke the rules, but whatever, we had to do what we had to do to be together. And my sister and the girls moved in with my parents, and obviously they were like a bubble, and we would chat on the streets or whatever. But I just remember thinking, one, I don't know how he would have coped. So he clearly had to leave just before that happened. So I always think he knew what was about to happen because he passed in January and lockdown was March, right? And his mum passed away literally the day lockdown was announced,
Wow.
like the 22nd of March, because it was my husband's birthday and my mum's birthday. And we remember thinking he would not have been able to navigate losing his mum and lockdown happening. Like,
Yeah.
he was full of life, textbook ADHD, always on the go, would not function if he wasn't at the gym. So lockdown for him would have been so hard, like it was for so many
Yeah.
people. But I always remember, like, afterwards, I guess, because in the thick of it, God knows how I actually felt. I think I was just in mourning and grief. But I remember thinking, like, what an amazing, beautiful time that he chose to leave. Because of course, when that's somebody's story, it was a matter of time before he chose to do it, I think. And I saw the beauty that he spared himself from that trauma and that pain, because lockdown would have been his worst nightmare. Like, you could not keep him indoors for more than like 10 minutes. But I guess, I don't know how we even got onto that, but I guess I was saying that for me personally, my comfort in life has always been my way of seeing the positive in everything. And I know
Yeah.
that has been really hard for people around me, especially my sister, when they just want to rant or cry or moan and I want to instantly fix it. And I've always been that person to try and see it glass half full. And I've learned over the years to wait to be invited and to show compassion and just bite my tongue, because not everyone is ready to see the positive in it. Not everyone. And like with me and you, and obviously your situation, I trusted that was where you were at that time. And I never
Yeah.
said, well, Soph, why don't you think about it like this? Because I'm like, do you know what I mean? Imagine. So
Yeah.
luckily, I've navigated understanding how to wait to be invited for that help. And sometimes people just need space to feel shit, to cry, to have that compassion, that safety net of support. But obviously in my head, I've had that positive silver lining.
And it can, you know, when you're in the thick of it and you are, so it can be really frustrating, right? If you just want to cry, you want to swear, you want someone to tell you that this is so unfair, this is just, you know, you shouldn't be going through this.
Yeah.
So actually being able to do that, allow people to have that space to do that, but then when they're ready to come in with the positives is pretty amazing. But how beautiful that story there with Ollie, to be able to see it that way.
Do you know what? This is probably the first time I've ever said it out loud that I've even think.
Really?
'Cause it's
Wow.
been, what, 5 years? And I don't, and obviously yesterday was Suicide Awareness Day or whatever it's called. I don't like to pay much attention to these big days because, like you said earlier, it doesn't need a day. We can talk about these
Yeah.
things at any point. But I guess I've probably not said that out loud, and I think for at least 2 years, I could not talk about him without crying or breaking down, and I especially couldn't talk about my son and him in the same conversation because that was the hardest part, that, you know, my son lost his uncle before he even turned 1. Like, that to me, I couldn't even comprehend it. But I guess now, because of my own spiritual journey and my own acceptance, and obviously losing a close friend of mine at the start of this year, which was, again, like, a very beautiful experience for me because so many of my friends came to me for comfort, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why are they coming to me? Why are they asking me for advice?" And then I realized that I've got a bit of a responsibility to hold here, to be able to hold space for people going through something so heartbreaking and sad. And that's it. Like, we are, at the end of the day, we are human first, right? No matter the thoughts and the belief systems about spirituality and being a soul, we are here to experience the humanness of life. So we feel the feelings, we feel all the heartbreak, all the sad, all the pain and anger, and that is what we're supposed to do. So you have to be the human first. But I guess because I've got that inner sense of knowing or connection to source or whatever the F it's called, I have a different perspective. So of course I grieved and I was so distraught and upset, but I invited my friends to come together and light some candles. And just something that simple
Yeah.
brought them such comfort. And then I had a reading like 2 days later, which gave me so much peace because this lady who talks to your guides, your spirit guides, of course, this is going to blow people's minds, but I was very open. I've always been open to stuff, regardless of the fact that I can't actually talk to my guides. And I'm always like, hello, where are you? Why don't you talk to me? I just accept now that I talk to my higher self, whatever. But this particular lady, she talks to your guides, and she said I had 4 on my shoulders right behind me. And she is connected to her guides who talk to my guides. Like, honestly, it's wild. However, what she brought up and what she knew about my friend that had just passed 4 days ago, that she had no concept of who I was or anything to do with anything about me. So she told me that my friend is currently in that space. Once they've passed, before they go back to source, they are currently in that space where they're reviewing their life and they're looking at everything they've experienced and all the people that they've loved. And they then have that chance to you know, show themselves a bit of grace from the things that they wish they would have done better. And you look at all the things that you are grateful for and that you loved, or the things that were hard, and you basically make peace, right? And I
Yeah.
just thought, how fucking beautiful, as for every single one of us. And obviously, of course, this is a theory, it's a belief system, but when we die, we have that time to reflect, and we literally look over our life, and it's like what they say, you see your life flash before you, and you stay in that space for a few days and you visit your loved ones. And apparently she was with me like the night before, and I was like, this is fucking
Wow.
crazy. And she was saying, you know, she's looking at all the connections she's had and all the friendships and the family and her daughter and all this stuff, but she knows that she has to move on to allow people to continue without her. And I was just like, oh my God. And then, of course, she goes back to source and starts again, right? And that soul continues because we are all energy. There is no beginning and end. There is a human experience. You review, you reflect, you go back to source, you choose another one, like you said in the boardroom. And I just think, how beautiful is that to even think that that is what we're doing here? We learn lessons, we go through journeys, we choose our life's path, we navigate it how we chose to. And then we go back to source. We basically go through our notes and we think, this lesson came so I could learn this and this. I still need to learn about that. So let me go again. And like, that just changed my life, just having that belief system. And there's things about, like, obviously my husband, I've always thought he knows everything. And it's like, it's frustrating knowing that he just knows stuff, right? And then, of course, I learned about his soul. And apparently his soul is one that's completed its lessons and now he's starting again.
Wow.
So, of course, his soul remembers because it's been through all these lessons. And he has such a profound sense of, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, he's just got a real strong sense of um judging someone's character, right? What's it called? Character judge? I can't even talk. Um, yeah, I don't have that. I'm clearly on the lesson where you have to be this naive, excited little puppy who loves everyone, gets burnt, and then I learn the lesson because I don't judge people's character, their energy. I can't read people. I used to take everyone as face value. I want to be everyone's friend. I love bomb. I want to be liked by everyone. And then I learn the lesson when they're not who they say they were. But everyone has to go through their own ways of navigating life, right? And I guess
Yeah.
that's why, from what me and you do now and what we love, is when you learn all these parts of you, your birth chart, your human design, your soul gifts, you understand how you navigate these situations and why you respond or react in certain ways. And it just gives you such permission to be. And I love
Yeah.
that. You posted about it a few months ago and it stayed with me about human beings. I just love it.
Mm.
Supposed to be human doings. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be. And I just
Yeah.
love that because as soon as you understand how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to navigate, you do give yourself that permission of grace. And I don't see this because I'm fucked up or I've been traumatized on. Of course, we have been through trauma and we have to go through our own clearings. And that's why I'm massively big into, therapy and what you do. I highly respect it. And I've been through my own stuff, and limiting beliefs is a real thing. And then
Mhm.
when you move through them and you kind of lift the stories that you were telling yourself, whether it's from something traumatic or whether it's from your parents or your childhood, once you clear that and you're left with your true self, that is when the real shit happens. And that's where the real magic is, right? Because you clear the debris.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when you can probably start doing, like, the remembering, because obviously they say that obviously when our soul gets here, it kind of gets amnesia, it completely forgets everything that it signed up for, and
Wow.
that your lesson is throughout life, we're trying to learn what we signed up for
Oh, yeah.
and those lessons.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think once you clear all of that stuff that we do pick up, then you're right, that is when the real work starts. But I think having all these understandings, it just gives you so much more, like you said, permission, but also compassion for yourself. Like, I feel a bit snappy today because Mars is, I don't know, in my seventh house. That's why I'm snapping. Or, I'm a projector. So this is why I'm feeling this way. And then also understanding that other people then are going to have different things to you. And then that's why they might be behaving like that. When you're saying about the perception, obviously that all comes down to the experiences that they've had and
Exactly.
their human design and their charts and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely given me a lot more grace. I think that was a good word that you used for myself
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Do you know what the
Definitely.
thing is about navigating other people? And this is probably something that's been the biggest probably lesson for me over the last year is when you realize it's not personal, it's not you. And that is what I just can't wait to help more people realize, that in every single situation, somebody is navigating their own personal shitstorm, right? Or their own personal perception. And it might not always be a negative thing, but however somebody's journey has been up to that point is how they're going to take that particular conversation or experience.
Yeah.
And when you realize this is on them, this is not on me. And I guess once you've done the shadow work, right, and you've realized your shit, because that's the thing that makes it really, really hard. When you navigate spiritual awakening and you do all this remembering, you have to face yourself in the mirror. So I've had a lot of stuff this year where I've realized and I've had to confront my shadow sides and be like, oh my God, I hate that about me. And then you learn why you're like that, how that pattern or habit started. You clear it, you realize you don't navigate things like that anymore. And then very easily you can see whether it was you triggering someone else or it's the way they're going to perceive a situation. And it just does gives you a real sense of calm and peace. And I think peace is very underrated in life. Like if you have peace of mind and an inner sense of self, which I will always say I've got such a strong inner knowing of who I am now, that it just brings so much peace in every situation. Because when arguments happen, or when conflicts happen, or when disagreements show up, or it can be with your partner. And obviously, I will always say my spirituality and understanding the let them theory, and the law of allowing, and all these things, they really did save my marriage, because I realized what I was doing. And that's why I always say you have to have responsibility for your actions. You cannot walk through life being a victim and
Yeah.
accusing people of attacking you or being nasty or being rude. What did you do to project whatever you were feeling on them? That's where the real life-changing shit is, when you look at yourself. And I think what happens in the world is everyone is so quick to blame other people, other governments, other countries, other this, that, the other. If you focus on yourself, and of course, this is the Aquarian age, right? And this is why me and you are so excited to be coming together, because we are waking up and we are realizing that it's all about connecting inwards and connecting back to source and our own inner self. When you focus on what you're doing, what you want to attract and embody, it's an absolute collective experience, right? We can focus each on ourselves. Look at the beautiful domino effect.
Yeah. And that is a lot of what I've had to do a lot of work on, is actually dropping that victim mentality and realizing that not everyone thinks the same way as I do, and that's okay. And just as long as keep doing work on yourself,
That's it.
it's all going to work out.
Exactly.
I have so much trust in that if I just keep doing the work on myself, I don't need to change anyone around me. Whereas before I thought, this person needs to change, this person needs to stop doing that.
Yes.
But actually, I'm like, as long as I keep doing the work, that's all that matters.
Everything falls into place. And this is why your trust with the universe and source and self, and whatever people want to call it, God, is so important. Because if you focus on how you can, so we can't control anyone, right? We can't control how anyone thinks, believes, or behaves. You can only control how you react or respond to it. When you focus on your own actions, you allow the universe to bend to meet you. And that's where it really does flow and fall into place. And that's what I love. But you have to have trust, because it will feel scary and unknowing and uncertain. And if you start losing friends that you've held on to your entire life for nostalgia reasons, if they're meant for you and if they do genuinely have that unconditional love for you, they will come back again. But sometimes we have to put boundaries in place. We have to protect our energy and take a step back to realize, has this got a bit toxic? Is this right for me right now? And again, it's not about projecting or blaming or attacking. It's about taking responsibility on you, looking at, what do you need right now? And again, this is the whole thing that society makes us feel selfish, especially as mothers, right? When we become mums, we go even further down on the pecking list. We've got kids, partners, houses, jobs, businesses, all the rest of it to look after. If we then have to start putting other people's feelings above ours, we're fucked, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I am so passionate about supporting women and mothers, because we have completely forgotten ourselves. And when you realize your energy, your reactions, all these things, you can control and you can regain your power in every single situation by just coming back inwards. Then of course these beautiful relationships can happen and can coincide, but you have to sort your own shit out first, and then they will flow again. I've just seen the time. We were supposed to stop at 40 minutes.
That was a good note to end on, though.
It was a good note to end on. So this was obviously supposed to be our introduction and just how we made friends, but look, it just flowed beautifully into spirituality and life.
As it always does, every conversation we have,
Of course.
will be like, something will come up and I'll be like, Dani, let me look at your chart. And then we'll look and like something wild's going on. I think for us, we get so excited about synchronicities, don't we? I've never seen two people get so excited about a synchronicity in their life. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Whenever something goes wrong, like the fact that you were poorly on Monday when we were supposed to record this, everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Divine timing is just so spot on every single time, because every single time we've not been able to do what we wanted to or what we planned to do, the universe had another idea for us. We had to go through another lesson. Something else had to happen for us to get in our flow. So this is exactly when we were supposed to record it. And whatever's come out today was exactly what was supposed to come out. And we just trust it and hope it lands. And if it doesn't, well, we had a fucking good time. So it doesn't matter anyway. Right, I love you, and I'll speak to you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Shouty Mums and Spirituality. We'd love to hear from you, and you can find us on Insta at Shouty Mums and Spirituality Pod. And remember, keep your crystals charged, your chakras open, and your voices loud. See you next time.